First steps.
So I guess the first steps obviously would be me choosing where to take my sample, and you can see, you know, the section of the kind that you've painted here, and that's a representation of some of my sample points. So I guess the first thing I would do is clean it. Obviously we'd use our trowels, our leaves to clean the section, and then I'd be taking photographs. I'd be starting my record of what I've got, what I think I've got, where I'm going to choose to sample, because obviously we can only take a small area of the whole thing, so we could decide where the best sample points are. I guess one of the most important things then is to make sure what I do is tied into the site record. So everyone else, you know, we're putting all the data together. I know exactly where my samples have come from. They know where my samples have come from. So I take the site records and I will add my data to them. So I'm copying drawings and putting them up against the section, seeing if where I think the best place to take a sample fits with the layers and the deposits as others have seen them when they've done their drawings, and we kind of pull that information together. And I'll take a sample number and write my interpretations and exactly what I've done, and that goes into the site record. So, and then I keep my own records alongside that. I've got my own notebooks.
And these show the layers?
Yeah. So this is your section. This is the section you've taken, that you've drawn. And of course it looks so different, but these blocks are the samples that you've seen me cut out, and they've all got a number, and I will make sure that I locate them exactly where the drawing says that these deposits were, so everyone knows what I've tried to sample. Doing is taking the sample, and what I do, try not to waste deposit. I try to take a sample as tidily as possible and to take out as little material as I like. So what I do when I'm cutting out the sample block, I take the soil from each of the deposits and take it as my little bulk samples. I take loose soil samples so that I can do supporting analyses that will go alongside the microscope slide that I'll eventually make from the sample itself. I take a little bit of loose soil for each of the points I'm sampling, each of the different contexts, and bag those up separately as I'm cutting out the block. When we actually take the sample, there's kind of two different ways you can do that. I can either cut out a block of soil, just a solid block of soil, as you see here, which is fine when I'm in a section. You know, that's quite easy to isolate, and I can take a bigger sample. But often, when I'm working on floor surfaces, all the material I'm sampling is underneath it. I've got to kind of find a way of getting a small sample, and it's quite awkward to dig out a block and get it not to break. So what we use is something called a Cubiena tin, named after the person that invented them, and it's just a small metal tin that is just slightly sharpened on one edge, and I push that into the section or down into the floor surface with the help of various implements, and hopefully get out a solid block of soil. And I can seal that up. Make sure it's airtight so the soil doesn't dry out and collapse. So our other implements for that, and I will end up with a lovely solid sample.
So
not such an easy process, really.
Around it has to be bigger than the box.
Yes,
so
it does. It has to be at the side of the box. So I take out and I get a hole that I can get my hand in and push in. It's much easier in the section that Jeanne's done here, where it's in front of you. But it's just, you just need to get a sample that hasn't cracked or broken. That's the real thing, is having it in one piece. So when you make the microscope slide, you just have the soil in situ. You have the original position of all the deposits on top of each other. And then we go to the lab. And then back at the lab, these samples are sent off to a specialist lab, and what they do, they unwrap the top and bottom and put the sample in a fume cupboard, and there's a chemical physical process where the air and the moisture, the water that's in the soil, is forced out and replaced by acetone, and then ultimately that acetone is replaced by resin, and the resin hardens, and we get a block of soil. This one's a little bit cracked, peaty soils, you know, they don't cure well sometimes. We get a block of solid resin with the soil suspended in its original form, original structure within it, and from that block we can cut a thin section, stick it to a microscope slide, grind and polish it until it's exactly the right thickness, and then we use that as that's our sample, that's our microscope slide. and it's as thin as one of my hairs. The slice of soil that will eventually end up on the slide itself is as thin as about 30 microns, so thinner than one of my hairs.
So the resin needs to seep in everywhere?
Yes, this resin,
because
it makes
otherwise
the
you couldn't,
it
would
hardens,
crumble. Yeah.
It was you couldn't cut through soil, you have to make it into something completely solid as a rock. So then you can cut it. So here are some of those blocks, and you can see maybe this one that doesn't have foil on it. You can see more clearly the way the soil is suspended. The particles are all suspended in their original position. So when I have my slide, it's full of holes as well. There are gaps, there are voids, there are spaces where the air and the moisture is. So I can interpret what kind of environmental processes were going on, as well as seeing what kind of things are in the bone charcoal. You know, the archaeological elements that we would interpret. I can also look at how it was, what kind of water, hydrology, you know, I can look at other parts of the environment, and I can look and see how they've affected the way the archaeology is preserved, or what we're seeing.
Name of that microscope?
We use the same kind of microscope that a geologist would use to look at rocks, a petrographic microscope, and what that means is that I can use different light sources to look at organic contents, and then a different light source to look at minerals and identify the minerals in the soil. So all our Orkney sandstone, our dike rock, our igneous rocks that come in from elsewhere, we can see particles, those tiny fragments of those in the soils that we've got coming off the site, and that helps with our interpretation as well. So yeah, just another part of the story. And when we cut sondages, and we were trying to talk about it and say, well, it's quite hard to put into words, but basically we have the archaeology in plan. It's all underneath our feet. We can't see it. Now we want to dig that in plan. We want to see how things relate to each other as we go down through it. But we also need, for our interpretations, one of the most useful things for us is the section, which is basically what Jeanne's got here. Where we see things as if they're in elevation against. We want both. We want the plan. We want the section. And what we do is dig sondages a lot of the time that give us kind of a window through the site. So we know we've got our archaeology. And if we dig a trench, obviously we record that as we go down. If we dig a narrow trench through it, we will get our archaeology in plan, but we also get to be able to see, it's like we're walking through a box into the archaeology, and we can see what's either side. And then likewise, we've got bulks, where sometimes we dig around, but we leave a bulk, like a reverse of the sondage, so in and out, so we leave standing proud an area of the archaeology. We go down either side, but then when we're finished, we've got kind of a record of it in section, and we can draw that, we can put the two things together. So it's kind of getting those three dimensions, getting to dig it all, but how do we get both ways of looking at it, and that's the way we do it. So sondages and bulks. So
makes a montage.
the sondage, the bulk, the montage. Yes, it is. Sondage to montage.
And an homage to the last.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
To the last sample from Trench T.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The very last sample. She was there for the whole thing, and so there we are. That is. Yeah. And this section was a sondage through the middle of the trench, and now we've recorded that. We're now eating into that, taking away that record. We've recorded that. That's my section there. My copy of that drawing of that section. Now we can work through in plan and take those middle layers away. But crucially, we've seen how they relate to each other as we go down through the archaeology. So, yes. So I think that's our best. It's our best effort. We get as close as we can. Of course, it changes with every slice. Imagine a scan through a body. You go into tunnels and get scanned. Every slice will be slightly different. These layers will go up and down. So if we cut the section back a bit further, we'd have got a slightly different section. So we need it in plan too. We try and so it's a juggling act of where we get our best information and what we might lose if we go that way as opposed to that way. So you just do what you can. Let's cut it back a bit. Let's put a step in here. Let's go down a bit further here and just try it. But obviously as we go down, we need to record that in plan as we go. Once something's gone, that little block of whatever it is gone, we need to record everything as best we can. So you never get it all. You never get it all. You always lose some small relationship somewhere. But yeah.
Just like the Sondage at Trench T is going to be taken down.
Yeah.
It'll be gone. Yeah. But it'll be in the painting.
Exactly. We have to record everything we can while it's there.
did a little bit here, and then straight holes that they right up the jungle need.
And then the next thing he said is, yeah, kind of I'll do the edges of the sections first, and the base. Yeah.
Well, by the time I'm done with the edges, I actually talked to some equity. Do you like the equity files? I went like longer, and I'm like, oh.
Don't worry about it, it's fine. Cool.
Right, home time!
Okay, curly loose.
Because it cuts through. I forgot about that. I would have here and
Nearly there.
Nearly there. What's the hard bit?
I've just got a stone in the top here. What I'm going to have to do is just dig right out and around it and see if I can get the stone off when we've got the sample out. Just in case it cracks, really. That's the danger. I'm holding it here. I'm trying to get right round the back, underneath, and just get it out as one without the soil cracking, which is the big challenge.
You're holding it in to keep it solid.
Just in case it starts to fall out, because I've practically eaten away at the back of it just to loosen it up, and I can feel it getting looser. So, not quite, not yet.
Okay.
He's holding it in place still. That's it. I think that's
It's a tower of time.
still in place. No, it doesn't want to. It's coming.
Oh, here it comes. Oh, it's lovely.
Hooray! Hello, little sample. You're coming with me.
Oh, right here to the cling film.
Really? Yeah, and what I'm going to do, I don't need the whole thickness of this block, so I just lay it on the cling film, so if it cracks I can quickly wrap him up. And what I'm going to do is just try and get some of the depth off, just so it's not so heavy, so it's not such a heavy sample. So now I'm just going to remove and leave enough here to keep a nice solid block, because it's probably going to be waiting a while before it gets processed. But we don't need all this, it just weighs so much, it's such a big thing to store and transport. I can lose a fair bit of this.
Does every sondage come out as intact as this, or do they?
No, I had one this morning that failed. Well, this is a block rather than a sondage.
The block is bigger.
Yes, the sondage is just the cut through the archaeology, really, but this is just a sample block.
Okay.
So I suppose you could say that's a little sondage. The sondage usually goes down. You know, it's cutting down into the archaeology to give us kind of like a little walkthrough, a little window into the archaeology. Okay.
And now you're attacking the stone.
This stone can possibly come off, but I'm not sure. So there's the back of it.
Now you have to make sure.
Now I want to get a sample of this top stuff, but I think probably. I don't know. I'll turn it over and see then.
So it's also, you should also take one from there, at least.
Yeah, oh, of course.
All this crack. I think I'm going to have to take him out, really, because he's going to make this a bit unstable. Dug in, actually.
Then I have to change it.
There we go. That's fine.
Oh, there's some beautiful red stuff underneath that.
Yeah.
No, from there, no.
Probably just where, see underneath the stone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you've got water coming down through the soil profile, and that kind of washes down different sort of chemicals that are in the soil. You know, changes the soil chemistry as it goes
Yeah.
down. And one of the things that washes down is iron. So underneath stones like that, and at changes in layers, where one layer might be quite porous and another might be quite thick and dense, you get accumulations of iron, and it's red. So you know, little things like that, little signs of so we can see how. We can look at stuff like that and just see kind of what might have been happening environmentally. So, okay, so here you are, the sample. This is to keep it airtight, so it doesn't just crumble away, and also just to kind of keep it solid as well. It supports it all. And then, so the most important thing that way. And then our sample numbers.
Ah.
There we go. Makes it easy for people back in the lab to see which way up they should be putting it.
What'd you do before Sharpies?
Exactly. I don't know. Gosh, had terrible trouble with pens, I suppose, but so now he's
Is that it then?
pretty much. I'm just going to tidy up, and then I just write the records. I just fill in a sheet describing what we've done, and I get the TB at the level to come over here, so that the ED we plot in the points where the samples were, so we know where they are in the section.
Yeah.
And that's all. So that's all just site records really now. And I clean up the mess, and then.
And you have a drawing as well. You drew some.
Yeah. There's because this section has already been drawn. So what I do then is find that section, and I will draw in the samples as little boxes, so we know we've already got the old sample on the section.
So you two are an artist.
Sorry?
You are an artist. You're
Yes,
drawing.
well, we all are, I suppose.
Yes, you are.
We're all doing a fair bit of drawing, I suppose.
Yeah. It's all in the perception.
There we are. There he is.
There he is. The last
The last of the.
The last of the
midden sample.
the last of the midden from Trench T.
Yep. All the rest is going to be matted away.
Stay tuned or watch that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch that space for what comes out informationally about Trench T. And the other.
It's the luck of the draw whether you get to be shoveled out or get to be in a microscope slide. Frozen. Can you imagine? It must be like if you're a particle of soil. It must be like the chances of winning the lottery.
Yes.
You being in the slide.
Sample. That's right.
I suppose.
I suppose all the little intelligent microbes are having a little competition. I won. I'm wrapped up in the plastic.
Yeah, exactly.